Major General Jim Williams is with us. He was in the United States military for nearly 40 years and has commanded Marines at every level in and out of combat. Sir, thank you for your time.
It's good to be with you again.
Can you tell me, from a strategic standpoint, how you assess the decision for the United States and Israel to conduct joint strikes on Iran?
Casey, I look at this as a multi-phase operation. Now, whether the Pentagon wants to do it that way, that's another discussion we can probably have. But this is phase one. Phase one is to put that signature down. We are signaling regime change. If the reports are correct and Khomeini is killed, then there's a question, what's the next step? And remember, what you have in Iran is a multi-leveled regime. You got to think about the secret regime service, if you will. These are the non-uniform sort of people that go around and maybe discipline people to comply with the regime. Then you have the military, and then you obviously have the Ayatollahs, and they represent the Supreme Council. So ultimately, this is really phase one.
Is there a vacuum when you have a number of leaders, if the reporting is accurate and that continues to flush out? Does there become a power vacuum in cases like this?
Well, I don't think there's a power vacuum from the regime's perspective because they know how many only had so many years left. There were some issues that occurred previously where he was not really as strong as they had hoped, and he wasn't very politically savvy. So the Supreme Council actually has already had a backup for probably a couple of years if something happened to him. And the fact that it was well known that he would probably be a target in any strike, that they were going to have a replacement. So I suspect they will have a replacement pretty soon.
Can you outline for me some of the military objectives when you're dealing with a large-scale operation like this? The president has made it very clear this could last for days, and this isn't a short-term
Mhm.
deal.
Right. Well, a task force like we have, two aircraft carrier groups, essentially, with their current armaments and supplies, they could probably last 3, 4, 5 weeks without supply. But
Wow.
after that, they would have to have resupply. But I suspect that they'll have some level of resupply to sustain themselves because you have to have fuel to keep the planes flying, the ships moving, all of that. And then, the president says he doesn't want to put boots on the ground. I've never seen anybody surrender to a jet plane. So at some point, somebody's going to have to be on the ground with a bigger than a size 10 shoe to actually get somebody to surrender.
How about the tactical challenges that not only the pilots are facing, but if we do get to boots on the ground, tactical challenges in the region and with this
Mhm.
mission specific?
Well, one thing we always have to think about comparing Iraq and Afghanistan to Iran. Remember, the land mass is 3 times the size,
Right.
and it has, excuse me, it has what they call cross compartmentalization, where you have mountains, rolling hills, and that usually requires infantry. And so, from a tactical standpoint, right now, it's an air war, and that is suppress air defenses, destroy military capability, and some of the political capability. And that's kind of been done already. Now, the question is, do we have a human intelligence network that can actually help those who want to resist? Because actually, you have to get weapons to them, all of those things, and it's a very intellectual, capable population. It's not Afghanistan, and it's not Iraq in that sense. It's a much more capable population, so they can actually run the government. Everybody thinks, in my context, everybody wants the Shah's son to come back. Although he's the emotional leader, I don't think he's the long-term leader. So that's something the Iranians will have to figure out.
Couple more minutes here, and my next question is the retaliatory strikes. This is something
Mhm.
that was expected. We have seen leading up to this assets being moved away from some of the U.S. military bases in the
Mhm.
region, and we have seen Iran striking back and hitting
Mhm.
places like Bahrain, a naval base there, also in Dubai, and we've seen
Mhm.
some hotels on fire. How worried do we need to be about the Iranian retaliatory strikes?
Well, I think right there in the Persian Gulf, Bahrain is obviously the closest because it's right across the Persian Strait, and I've been there many times. And so it's, if you're flying there, I mean, literally, you're looking at the Saudi Peninsula on one side and the Iranian Peninsula on the other. So at the end of the day, it's very close. And so the potential for other rocket strikes is ever present.
Given the fact that there were reports leading up to this that there had been negotiations ongoing
Mhm.
between Tehran and the United States, and it just didn't seem like any headway was being made. So my question is,
Mhm.
what does this say about the role of diplomacy versus, say, military action?
Well, I would say in all cases, diplomacy, you always want to lead with diplomacy because it's the cheapest thing to do, right? You don't expend men, materials, lives, all of that. And negotiation is sort of better than using your hammer. But once you use your hammer, it's going to cost. And as you probably remember, a statement General Powell made years ago, if you break it, you own it. And so we got to understand, do we own this problem or are we getting help? Because again, you can bomb all day, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have regime change.
Mm. So to that point, and this is
Mhm.
perfect because I'd like to finish with this. We've heard a number of things that we want to keep Iran from enriching uranium and getting a
Mhm.
nuclear weapon, but also a lot of discussion about the regime change. Which
Mhm.
is it, or a little bit of both?
Well, I think that's all dependent upon the plan at the National Security Council. What do you want to do? And so when I said earlier about this is like a 4 or 5 phase plan. So phase one is okay, we attack. So what's phase two? What's phase three? Phase four and five is usually nation building. And we've decided in many cases we don't want to do that because it costs money and it makes a commitment. And regime changes take 30, 40 years to do. And so the question is, does the American people have the stomach to do it?
Sounds like we could potentially be in it for the long haul, which is one of the other reasons why it's so controversial. In fact,
Mhm.
Major General Jim Williams, I can't thank you enough for lending us your time and your expertise on this important matter. We really are watching history unfold with this.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate it, Casey. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, sir.
You too. Thank you.